It's time. Hello everyone, welcome back. I believe this is our 23rd live stream. Oh man, I could just imagine if we ever actually get up to 50. Currently today we are sitting here in beautiful Brazil. This is the southeastern corner of it. We're currently at Alfenas. That's a Sierra November Foxtrot Echo for anybody who's interested. Just taking a look around, we got ourselves a TBM. This is going to be a fairly long flight today, but I wanted to take an advantage of seeing a lot of Brazil, not just a little bit of Brazil that we normally would check out. So first of all, welcome back, Lafo, Smoking Tire. We haven't seen you in a while. Welcome back, Simon, to Wosen John, the Wosen John, sorry. Welcome back, Smiley Bo. Reaper, welcome back. Head to the Shed, welcome back. And I see that we have a new person joining us today, which is going to be Fabiano Echo 81. So let's go ahead and get this party started. Like I said, we have a bit of a long flight today. And interestingly enough, we have a brand new throttle. This is one of the mongooses from Verpel. So if anything weird goes along with my speed or throttle during this entire journey, it was completely my fault because I'm trying to get that kind of the hang of it. It's definitely a different type of system than we're used to before. We'll make sure all these things are turned on. That looks pretty good. We're going to flip on the automatic starter. We're going to set this to automatic. We're going to set this to on. We're going to do automatic on the fuel selector. Give this thing a moment. One of the great things about this aircraft is it is not difficult to get started. There's a bunch of different things you can do with it. Obviously, we're doing an extremely abbreviated little procedure here, but that's not going to cause any damage to us. All right, looks like we got ourselves a good light off, and we have pretty much every warning light in the universe right now, but I'm not going to stress about it too much. Good morning, Steph. All right, well, for me, it's good morning. I don't know what it is for you folks. All right, let's go ahead and get everything set up while this thing is revving up here. It looks pretty good. I'll pop that into my high idle position. First things first, we're going to switch up our handy-dandy little piece in here to GPS mode. We've got that pre-selected. Our cruise altitude today is going to vary depending on what part of our journey. Our initial cruise is going to take us up to 11,000 feet today. And like I said, we're going to stop by and do a little tiny bit of sightseeing once we get to Rio de Janeiro. It's going to be about a 35-minute flight to get there. So we're going to be covering a lot of distance, as you can see today. But again, sometimes it's nice to do a longer flight, especially when you have a nice and quick aircraft like this. All right, so that's looking pretty good. I'm just going through everything that I have right here, making sure this is exactly, obviously don't turn on your yaw damper. And of course, we want our inertial separator. We're going to go turn on our anti-stall heat. We're going to get all sorts of angry limes here. We're going to pop this over to the taxi position, pop on our bleed air so we can get some nice air conditioning because it is hot today. For those of you who are joining us today, we are on the East USA server. We're sitting here, like I said, at Alfenas. This is a Sierra November Foxtrot Echo. I'm just chilling here right back on the gate. And like I said, you're always welcome to come join in on any of these flights that we do today. We'll be cruising over to Rio. Estimated flight time today is going to be right around 39 minutes, depending just how high we're able to get this aircraft. Currently, I'm flying with real-world weather, for those of you who are kind of curious. The nice thing about the live weather is it has a really nice tailwind today, so you can take advantage of it. The downside is it has relatively low clouds. When we were testing this earlier, of course, we got nailed with all sorts of nastiness as far as rain and lightning and stuff like that. If you want to go ahead and use a real time of day for this one, by the way, it's a very, very lovely time of day as well. Completely up to you. You can actually push that. You can see exactly what's going on right now. All right, let's go ahead and get this thing rolling. So first things first, I'm going to release the park and brake and give ourselves a nice gentle touch here. We have tons and tons of people joining us this morning. Welcome back, Jerry Wheeled Speed, by the way. Go ahead and get us going just enough to roll. Again, like I said, brand new throttle, so I'm going to have to try to get the use of this when we're going through. I'm just going to kind of say, excuse me, everybody, as I kind of go zipping through. We have a loaded alarm. I don't remember you. I apologize. Looks like we have somebody from Federal Express doing a long-distance delivery here. I did originally plan this flight to be up in the Amazon region, but unfortunately the Amazon region it's all bush flying, which is usually fun, but it is also, unfortunately, all the airports are really far apart, and they're really, really not compatible with aircraft like this. All right, let's go ahead and sneak on there. The working title G3000, I have not tried that yet. Many people over the years have told me that I got to try the new one. There's actually been some really nice additions to the G3000 in the Sim Update 4, and I'll actually go covering a little bit of those. I'm actually built an entire set of videos for us for next week that are going to be dealing with some of the changes in the G3000, G1000, G3X as well. Good morning, Jerry. All right, we've got this thing rolling along here. I'm just going to go do all my kind of pre-flight checks, make sure everything's all set. They've done a lot to fix the engine on here. So thankful. So thankful. This thing behaves so much better than it used to before. All right, that looks good. I'm going to play with my MFD here. Hey, check this out. I'm going to go to Systems, and I'm going to turn the lights down. Oh, yeah! I know you probably don't think that's as exciting as I think it is, but, I mean, come on. All right, let's go ahead and do our little handy, ridiculous back taxi here. Please don't do this in the real world, folks. This is extremely rude to everybody who's ever already on the runway. Reminds me of the old FSX days when everybody would queue up kind of on the end of the runway and kind of make a big mess. Let's go ahead and drop a notch of flaps there. I'm going to go ahead and kick my nose over, hold the brake, and push ourselves over. Remember, runway behind us is absolutely worthless. You want to chew up as much of this runway as you possibly can. I'm actually going to look out my right window here. Give myself just a little tiny bit of brake. come spinning around. We chose a TBM for this. We could have done a jet today, which would have he's got the right idea. We could have chose a jet for this today, which would have gotten there a little sooner. But like I said, I want to be able to slow down a little bit today because there's a couple really, really neat landmarks we're going to get that chance to take a look at. Come on. There it goes. Nice. All right. That looks pretty good. I'm going to do one quick little thing of pre-flight, make sure everything's looking all right here. Go check everything to make sure it's the way I want it to be. We're going to go ahead and turn on the landing lights here. All this is good. This is all good. This is set correctly. This is set correctly. That is set correctly. I'm going to come on down here. I'm actually going to go to MFD. Make sure everything map settings. We're going to do orientation, heading up, a brand new option. Thanks so much. They finally added that. Oh, that was making me absolutely crazy. I'm going to go to PFD real quick, and I'm actually going to change one more thing too. I'm going to shut off synthetic terrain. Ooh, scandalous. Flip on the wind. Obviously, we have a hell of a crosswind today, so we're going to have to deal with that. All right, viewers reset. Let's go ahead and do it to it. So one of the cool things is if you are on the newest, like I said, World Update number 4, and you push the throttle all the way forward, you do not have to worry about over-torquing the engine anymore as long as the inertial separator is on. It'll actually limit it for you. All right, let's get this thing rolling. We got, like I said, a bit of a flight today, so. Ooh, that is a heck of a crosswind. I'm going to go ahead and put my ailerons a little bit into that wind. Continue accelerating a little bit. This is a very short runway for us, but it should be enough if my math is accurate. Oh man, that's a crosswind. Holy smokes. Obviously, for those of you flying with high clouds, dip that wing into the wind. Whoa! That was dangerous. Landing gear up. Generally, you want to wait on the landing gear until we get a little bit of altitude. Flaps up. We're going to settle here at about 7.5 degrees is the magical climb angle. Get ourselves a little bit of altitude. I'm going to try to get over these kind of big old cliffs here. And I'm going to go ahead and swing and get ourselves climbing at about 125 knots. It's going to get us a pretty darn steep climb for our initial piece here. This aircraft is amazing. You can set your climb speed to 200 knots and absolutely not stress out about it. But again, it's it all depends on when you want to get there kind of a thing. All right. It's always nice to be back in the TBM. This is probably one of the most versatile aircrafts of all flight sim. Of course, what we should be flying today is one of the Embraers. I believe there's an EMB out there, like a 110. That's a big twin-engine turboprop. It would definitely match, given that we're flying over Brazil today, like I said. Myself a little bit more. I'm climbing a little bit too slow here. I'm going to hold it about there. Whoa, boy. That's real-world turbulence there. Anybody can join in Tapa if you're interested in joining us. So we're in the East USA server. We've just taken off, like I said, this Alphanas. That's a Sierra November Foxtrot Echo. If you want to try to track me down on the map, I'm the one that says Red 64. I forget what my number is. I'm not going to pause just right away. All right, I'm going to hold the nose, and I'm flying by hand here. Notice I've got the throttle jammed all the way forward, but my torque is perfectly in the correct zone here. And again, they've changed this significantly in the last update. So it's kind of neat, like I said, what they've done to it. All right, I'm just going to fly this by hand for a little while, just kind of get everything nice and balanced. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. I don't feel like I need to work it too hard here. Not today. Again, it's a TBM, so it's a nice aircraft. That looks pretty good right there. I'm going to go ahead and flip on yaw temper, turn on the automatic pilot. My roll mode is going to be navigation mode. And we're going to go ahead and say flight level change, and we're going to go set this to, I'll say about 150 knots will be my climb speed. That's a nice balance between cruise and climb right there. All right, we're going to come swing around. Inertial separator can come off now. We are more than enough altitude. When you shut off the inertial separator, by the way, it is going to change your maximum torque available. So you kind of got to keep an eye on it, especially as you start to climb and the engine starts to try to hunt a little bit, as you're going to see. And again, this is something relatively new from the last version. Now, those look like some pretty mean clouds, but again, since turbulence isn't terrible, I'm not terrified of them losing a wing or anything. We'll go ahead and check to see if those clouds have any nasty precipitation in them real quick while I'm at it. Yeah, we're fine. I'll zoom out a little tiny bit here and see if we can spot. Oh, look at this. So it looks like we do have some precipitation in the distance. It looks like about 10 nautical miles out. Now we've got a pretty nasty little squall here. Taking a look vertically here. Let's see here. 2 degrees, 2.5. I'm just working out mentally exactly what we want this to do. Yeah, we're going to go smacking right into that rain in just a second. So hopefully our aircraft can kind of power over the top of it before we get it. Let's go and take a look at it horizontally real fast. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. I'm not going to stress over it about too much. All right, just take a look at our window. Again, we're going to get a little bit of altitude here, and then we'll talk a little bit about what we're flying over in a moment. I'm not a geographist, as I've complained about many times in the past. Like I said, my language is English, a little bit of Spanish, and really bad English. But again, we'll do the best I can to pronounce what we can see here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take a peek behind me, see how everybody else is doing. Oh, my. Wow. Okay, so I am terrible at formation flying. Nicely done. As a matter of fact, eat some turbulence. Eat turbulence. It's not working. Bummer. Excellent. All right, I'm going to go ahead and back my throttle down. I'm noticing that I'm 106% torque. That's because I've exceeded the little critical altitude there, and it kind of shuts itself off when you do that. Back to vertical. Beautiful. We are exactly over the precipitation, which is exactly what I wanted. Now, once we level off, we'll go ahead and set our cruise power, which for this aircraft is literally the simplest cruise power ever. It's 100%. The POH on this aircraft does allow you to travel at powers other than 100% for cruise purposes. You can do less. Obviously, can't do more because you cause some sort of damage. And again, tremendously expensive airplane. We don't want to do anything silly. Now, let's just take a look here. It looks like we're going to be just, we're going to be safe. Let's zoom in a little bit. Yeah, we'll be fine. You can see that the weather is basically a degree and a quarter of a degree. That's going to be about 1,000 feet below us. So I'm not worried about it at all. All right, we'll just go ahead and level this thing off. I'm glad they fixed all the autopilot issues this aircraft used to have. It used to hunt or used to take forever to settle. The whole thing works so much better than it used to. Again, that's why I like coming back to this plane. Oh, by the way, it's really hot in here. Let's see, my fan. I'm going to crank my fan up real. Oh my. Okay, that's a little better. Whew. It's humid this time of year. Although, of course, if you take a look at the outside air temperature, it's actually freezing, so I'm just pretending. Let me turn the heat on. Got it. Okay, so this part of Brazil, we're in the south part of Brazil, like I was saying earlier. When I was first planning this flight out, I wanted to do something in the Amazon basin, which was an incredibly large area. You know, flying along the Amazon in amphibious planes was kind of my original plan. I played with it a little bit, but I was actually having some difficulty trying to get it to kind of work. You know, when I was flying in certain zones, like you had a place to take off from, but you'd have to travel like 6 hours to get somewhere where you can land from. So then I said, I got a great idea. Why don't we, okay, those clouds are ruining my view. I am sorry. Sorry, weather. Achoo! Much better. So what would happen is I took a look towards the south where you have the amazing waterfall sequence, but I tried the waterfalls out in a flight sim here, and I was a wee bit disappointed that the waterfalls didn't look nearly as good as they are in real life, unfortunately. So this particular region, this is basically, like I said, the south kind of central sort of location. Tons of agriculture down here. You can imagine at one point this was basically one wall of green, but when you take a look at the window now, you can see that a lot of it has been broken up with these little tiny family farms. I'm not going to lie, this reminds me of the world's smallest little runway here. I'm sure we could try to sneak in here if we were doing some kind of bush flying. Of course, in this part of things, you have an amazing, this is a Represa de Furnas, which is basically this whole set of, you can have all these lakes and all these like tributaries and little rivers that kind of come all together here. All I think of is piranha territory, but again, that's just a misconception that they actually don't exist in all the different places here. One of the things I did is when I was trying to work this flight out a little bit earlier, I couldn't help but notice when I was looking out these windows that if you put like really sad piano music kind of over and just kind of just look, you can kind of feel it, like, you know, that kind of, I don't know, there's just something amazing about it. And the fact that this is, you know, since in the United States, of course, you've had out west, everything's completely flat. These people still need to grow food, so they grow it everywhere. And it's just so amazing. All right, we're going to go proceed. Now we're going to be crossing one of our main towns here. This is Varinha. Again, I pronounce that terribly. I'm doing the best I can with my Spanish Portuguese. And you can see this is pretty much it for major towns for quite a while. Once we kind of cross out of this particular region, you're pretty much going to be pretty quiet all the way down into Rio, which is going to be our ultimate destination. Coming over here, we actually had this runway. It was going to be one of our choices for our flight today. The reason I chose not to use this particular runway is I did want to take a look at the wadis of water directly behind us. And you can see that again. I want to get a little bit of it. And you can imagine I come ripping in and out of here. Obviously, you're going to be using a little regional turboprop in here. You're not going to be doing anything too large because you could not fit. Look at how displaced the threshold is, by the way. That's crazy. And the interesting thing is once we leave this little region here, it's going to get tremendously quiet. And then we're basically going to cruise all the way down into Rio directly, where we're going to be able to kind of take a look at some of the sites over in that direction as well. So this is kind of like I said, kind of flying over the American Midwest here. You know, got all your agriculture all concentrated. I remember Brazil is one of the biggest exporters of coffee ever. So you can imagine how much of that is pretty much all out here. I actually have a brand new button on here. I can do this now. Haha! One of the neat things is, if you kind of head a little bit over in this direction, which is going to be kind of like the southeast, tremendously mountainous region. And the interesting thing is the way this country is shaped is basically, you know, kind of like we have the Appalachians in North America. This is basically the Appalachians, and then everything out here is where, you know, again, this is where your farms, this is where your agriculture, this is where your countryside is. Go ahead and put my view back to something a little bit more normal. I'm going to take a peek out the window. And now one thing, again, like I was saying earlier, is to kind of visualize, is could you imagine somebody like in an old, 1985, little Ford pickup truck, just kind of bouncing around, kicking up a huge dust trail around here, like the little rust patches underneath of it, as they have all sorts of different crops just kind of chilling in the back, and just miles and miles and miles in every direction that you look of that kind of experience going on. You're not going to have like a mega farm out here. You're going to have just little tiny stuff just kind of zinging in. And again, I just find that so fascinating. Again, I find it fascinating. Maybe you don't, but I do. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look. We don't think we need the weather radar anymore. I'll go ahead and flip that one off. I'll put the next red on. Get back. We'll go back to a regular map display. Notice, by the way, like I said, we have the orientation option in here. We also, of course, like I said, you can control the light configuration. Again, I did a whole video on this for next week for those of you who are interested. While we're on our way here, I'm going to start kind of planning on my next steps here. We're going to be heading pretty much out to this mountain. We're going to be taking a right and flying into the Rio itself. Just a moment, we'll be crossing another one of the major ones. Of course, we could climb up a little tiny bit higher here to pick up a little bit of extra speed, but for now, I'm going to kind of hold at this altitude just temporarily until I kind of get everything the way that I want it to be. All right, looks good, looks good, looks good. Minimums. The reason I'm turning this on is it's going to display a number here now, which is convenient for me. And now we're going to get the radar altitude once we get a little bit lower as well. This is exactly what I want. SVT, I've shut the terrain off. I don't need it. Again, I can flip it back on if I need to. At this point, I'll leave it off. Why not? Angle of attack, I don't need to look at this right now, but unfortunately, it doesn't go away. You'd have to actually shut it off manually. All right, looks good. I'm going to go flip this one over here. It looks good. Press home. PFD. Nice. Okay, let's see how everybody's doing behind us before I start getting everything else ready to go. I've got to say, Alapharog, you are amazing at flying in formation. And Raphaeloid, you're also amazing at flying in formation. I am absolute garbage at this. Of course, if I shut off my automatic pilot, I'm sure I can make it a little bit more difficult for you to try to follow me. But it's all good. Directly behind us, hello, Simon. Welcome back. Good to see you. And I'm just taking a look at Jerry Weirdsped. Now, some of these names are kind of fun. I would slow down a little bit, but unfortunately, everybody would catch up. And now we're going to have a bit of a traffic jam when we do get into Rio proper anyway. Teal Pancake 526 tree. Interesting. I'm trying to see who else I can see here. Loaded alarm. I'm trying to remember. A Tempest. Excellent. Excellent. This is so cool. It's just another gorgeous countryside. Although I feel one of these days we have to fly in the dead desert because all I feel like I do is fly over mountains. Maybe there's something good to happen there, but oh well. Okay, so the interesting thing is for our flight plan today, I'm actually going to open up my flight plan real fast. Apparently, I don't have an active flight plan. There it goes. For our flight plan today, we're actually going to be doing a very unique approach. You notice there's this waypoint in here that I added that's going to be different from when we were originally doing our flight plan earlier. It says Dado. I'm sorry, I cannot read my own writing sometimes. I have to go ahead and take a look at Dado de Deos, which is the finger of the gods. Now, you're probably wondering what this is. Now, what there is a mountain range just to the northeast of Rio that we're actually going to go through, and it has these weird little like fingers of mountains. And of course, in Flight Sim, they look a little wonky, but it's not too bad. But also unique to our flight today is we're going to be doing an ADF approach. And you're probably saying, well, why would you pick an ADF approach when we have GPS? Well, the reason for ADF approach, I'll go ahead and zoom this one out a little bit so you can actually take a look at it. All right, this is so nice, is the fact that there is a bridge that we're going to has an ADF, or I should say an NDB station in the dead center of it. We're going to use the bridge as our point of reference for our actual landing approach, which I just thought was kind of unique. So I'm like, oh, we got to do that one just to make it interesting for us. But I'm going to go ahead and get some of that set up while I'm kind of chilling over here, just kind of doing my normal little cruise. Then we'll get a little bit of altitude and kind of do it to it. All right, here. So the tough one, of course, is always looking up your frequencies when you're doing this. Folks who are joining in as well can feel free to dial this in as well. Whoa, I always do that backwards. 0415. I'm going to press the transfer button, and it's going to set that one up directly. Go over to my PFD. I'm going to go ahead and set my bearing as ADF. So we're a little far away at this point. There's also a line of sight issue because there is a mountain range there. But when we get a little bit closer, we'll actually be able to use this ADF to actually get us down onto the runway, which, like I said, talk about super unique place to put an NDB. All right, looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and take a look. I'm running through everything real fast here. I'm getting a pretty good ground speed. We could probably pick up a little extra speed. Estimated time, we got about 10 minutes for our first waypoint, and then it's going to be a little bit shorter again. Pretty long flight today, but we haven't done a long one in a little while. What I would like to do is pick up a little bit of altitude. What is this? Now that is mining. I recognize that because of the way that they cut out the side. Just cut that out of the side of my eye here. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up a little bit of altitude here just to kind of increase our ground speed just a teeny tiny bit. So to do that one, I'm just going to pre-select my altitude here. We'll go up to, let's say, probably about 15,000. And we're going to go ahead and do a flight level change. And I'm going to use my flight level change speed. We're going to do about 210 knots. All the people behind me are going to go, what is he doing? Surprise! So, of course, because there is a significant delay between when I start talking and people can see the reaction to things, it makes this kind of fun. So the purpose of my little climb here is to give us just a tiny bit more airspeed to work with. And then we'll come back down when we get a little bit closer to the actual place itself. Just imagine, it's like the American Midwest, but with mountains. It's amazing. And obviously a slightly different climate as well. Not that it's tropical down here. You have to actually go up north a little bit if you want a little more tropical. It can actually get fairly temperate down here. And I don't think we're going to have any snow on any of the mountain peaks. I'll go take a quick peek here. No, I don't think so. But once we get over there, like I said, we'll take that right turn and start heading in. I don't know, see how everybody did behind us. Oh, no difficulty. Oh! You guys are too efficient. Way too efficient, as always. I love it. I think we passed Simon, though. Yeah, Simon's chilling down there. He's going, what do we do? And trying to sit there and probably make some quick adjustments. Of course, knowing him, you probably would not be stressed out about it at all. Fortunately, we can't change any of the other map settings. That's actually too much. And one of these things, I do have to see the working title, which will be pretty good. Although one thing I will do real fast... I'm actually going to bring this down just a tiny bit. It's bright enough. Awesome. All right, props to the person who notices the ADF suddenly come alive. As I'm noticing right now, it's giving us an ADF bearing, which is directly behind us, but that doesn't make sense because our destination, the ADF, should be ahead of us. That should be a Papa, should be the particular ADF. Okay, so Steph asked a question, what is the best study level plane in the moment in Flight Simulator? That's sort of a trick question because most of the general aviation aircraft that they have are actually pretty good airplanes. On this one, I've actually talked to somebody who basically worked on the engine of this thing, and I did a lot of good work with it. Will tell you this is pretty good, minus the avionics. One of the problems you get here is there's actually a lot of settings down here that we have no access to. Like, let me make sure I'm honest here. Like what Steph was saying, there's the working title at G3000, which does have some of the other functionalities, such as displaying the Jeppesen charts and stuff like that. And again, all really, really, really good stuff that takes away from it. PMDG, I believe, is releasing their DC-6 in June. I guarantee you, you'll probably see a few videos off me because I love the DC-6. I play that like crazy in X-Plane. It's one of the few aircraft I know that I can't always get it started. Like normally I just kind of like blitz through the start, don't care about it, no problems, no issues. That one, especially if it's cold outside, I have to press Control-E from time to time because literally the thing will not get started. It's such a fun plane. I think Carinado has released a couple aircraft. Basically, if it doesn't have a glass cockpit in it, that's about as study level as you're going to get. I know that Just Flight's working on a couple, and I know that, I'm just trying to think backwards, and again, folks in the chat, feel free to correct me. I know that, who is it? Who's the big guys that are always releasing those aircraft? They have the G91, have a couple things as well. I'm not going to remember the plane. There's a Piper, but you guys will help me. Yeah, definitely weird speed. Yes, absolutely. The Cessna 152, believe it or not, I know this is going to sound like a weird choice to say that study level, but they actually do a really, really nice job with it. Yeah, the G3000 Raphoids basically... Oh, wait a minute. There he is. He was just commenting the fact that basically, he'd love to have a steam gauge version of a TBM930. I don't know of a steam gauge version. I know there's an older, not a 930, but you get like one of the earlier 9 series that probably did have something like that, or at the very least had a different, more old version of this. One really neat aircraft that we'd love to see, of course, would be the Meridian, which is a Piper aircraft. That thing is like right on the transition period between having traditional instruments, turboprop settings, as well as, some modern instrumentation as well. All right, let's see what that did for our ground speed here. Nice. We got an extra 12 knots there. And you're all sitting there going, yeah, but you just lost 31 knots climbing. Shh. JF Cherokee. Yes, the Cherokee. That was the one I was talking about. Thank you so much, Steph. That is exactly the one I was referencing. They did a really nice job with that. I don't have it personally, but from what I've talked to a couple people who actually fly them, I'm not a Cherokee guy. My general aviation experience is when the wing is above your head, not below your head, because, I like to be able to see when I turn. Yeah, I know. I'm not going to start that debate. But that aircraft, from what I've heard, is actually pretty good. We also have a helicopter that just came out. I'm not going to get the digits correct on it, so I'm not even going to dare to do it. But there's a pretty good website out there that kind of, I think it's MSFS add-ons or something like that, that lists all those pretty much back to back, so you know exactly. There's also the CRJ, which they did a very, very good job on, and I think you folks will like that. Steve Canevos TBM in mind, if you know about him. No, I do not. I'm going to have to check that out, Rafael. Thank you. Looks like we have a couple folks flying around Rio. I know you're probably saying, how do you know? That's our ultimate destination. So those folks will kind of be there waiting for us when we get a little bit closer here. All right, let's go ahead and do a quick little status check. I'm just going to check all my settings here. One thing we are interested in is to make sure the fuel is being burnt evenly. In a TBM, of course, this knob is mechanically, but it's also automatically selecting every few minutes where it'll actually switch itself quickly to make sure everything works okay. So we're just confirming that we have a pretty even balance here. If this gets too imbalanced, you're going to get an alarm on here, and you're going to have to manually set the setting that you're going to need to use. We're getting nothing on the backup generator, which is good. We can go cycle that real quick to make sure that works okay. 4 minutes and 20 to Tokim, and then we're actually going to have to start thinking about descending. Coming over on the right side, just making sure everything looks okay real quick. That looks okay. Oh, I wish it was a little warmer in here. Whoa, there we go. Looks good. Parking brake's good. All my anti-icing is good. Inertial separator's off. Somebody who knew way more about the PT6 that I did not basically explained to me inertial separators for anything that is not clean air. So if we were flying through a cloud or something, you could flip it on. If we're flying on the ground, there's dust, we could flip it on. Basically, it's kind of a catch-all emergency air filter function that we can use for those particular purposes. Okay, I think my initial checks are set. Again, I'm just looking above my head real quick, doing some quick mental things, because the last thing I want to do is, of course, who forgot to turn the oxygen on? I did. Now, if you want to see something interesting, this button looks like so much fun if you push it, right? Don't you really want to push that button and make those oxygen masks drop off your head? You know you want to push it. You know you want to push it. Nah, I'm not going to push it. Don't worry about it. All right, and we're starting to head towards the mountain range. And again, notice that the level of agriculture goes from, hey, anywhere we can put a farm or a field, we're going to go ahead and put it. And all of a sudden, you start getting these little tiny foothills. And these little tiny foothills suddenly become proper mountains. And you can see just off in the distance just how tall these are going to be. We have to get over these and basically drop down into one of the most densely populated places in South America. I think you folks will be pretty impressed with it. Take a look behind us. Simon, oh my gosh, you're going to chop my propeller off. Whatever you do, make sure your master arm is off. Head to the shed. Yeah, doing great, Rafael. I like how you're doing your little tooling around. That's nice. We got tons of people behind us. We could probably drag this thing up to 20, 30,000 feet if we had to, but there's no point to. I think this is a good altitude. Good blend between being able to see where we are versus being able to kind of, enjoy our speed here. Look at these mountains. This is amazing. This kind of reminds me of something you get over in the Andes, but again, it's just, you'll see what I mean. It's suddenly, everybody goes away, and then you've got Rio. It's a pretty neat trick. 221. I'm just going to check my flight plan real quick, make sure everything. Again, I'm always checking these things just in case. 7,000 feet. One of these days, we're going to get this thing called VNAV, and I'm going to make a video for it and get my next 100,000 views. Not really. But again, if we needed to choose that, that's where you could choose that. But like I said, it does not work the way I expect it to, so I'm not going to go to war with it today. I'm looking up ahead. Looks pretty good. What are we getting? 285. We got a little bit of a tailwind here. Nothing too serious. Right, so we don't want to go too low, believe it or not, because when we do start our descent here so that we can take a look at the unique rock formation, that's the Dedo de Deus, which is like the fingers of the gods, we're going to wait until we get probably, of course, I'm in 3D here, so you're going to be right about here, and then we'll start making our descent so that we don't go smacking into the mountains, but we're low enough to basically zip over the top of the mountains, because like I said, once you get out of those mountains, getting into the main city is very, very quick. Speaking of which, did we ever actually pick up any data? No, we're still too far away to collect anything from the ADF. We're much too far away for that. And I'm going to turn the heat down. It's gotten warm enough in here, I think. Now, it's interesting, when it comes to aircraft, I'd love to see in Flight Simulator. One thing that I always think of is I like old planes, like 1930s, 1940s kind of planes that you really have to work for a living in order to operate, when you have to actually sit out there and get out a chart. One thing I do say, though, and this is going to sound one way or the other, is I also appreciate airplanes that have autopilot. I know that I'd rather fly the plane all the time, but when I'm sitting there doing navigation, especially in an old plane like that, you're going to want to have something that can kind of keep things going as you're traveling along. Because otherwise, you're going to be doing one of these, and you look out, and then you're going to be pointing this way, and it's going to wreck up all your calculations. One of the things I used to do, and this is I'm getting a little nerdy here, but that's all right, is I used to print out the actual sheet of paper that they did for old school navigation. It basically has a grid on it with a little line down here to calculate your latitude size. And what you would do is you basically plot your position, calculate your dead reckoning, and then calculate calculate all the other positions to get the latitude and longitude, not even on a physical chart. People who do any naval stuff or nautical stuff know all about that kind of navigation. All right, we're taking a right-hand turn. Sorry, people behind me, but if you use my original plan that I'd mentioned earlier, your flight plan is going to be all goofed up now because unfortunately I added, like I said, I want to go ahead and take a look at the finger of the gods, which is going to be right here in the corner, and then we'll come swinging back down here into Rio proper. Let's take a look at how everybody else is doing. I'm noticing we're getting tons of people starting to appear. Like I said, right on the other side of this mountain is going to be basically Rio proper, which is going to be right in here. Simon's way off to the left. He's still following the original flight plan. Oh no! Directly behind us, you can see we've got plenty of people here. I went AFK. Now that makes me think autopilot right there. I'm sure everybody's done it where they've tried to fly all the way to like, Japan or something from San Francisco. They basically start everything up, set the autopilot, and then go out, like, do their errands. They get their laundry done. They walk the dog. They go food shopping, and then they come back, and not even a quarter of the way there. So it having supposed to be 330 knots. Jay London, it's a function of what our throttle setting is, or altitude setting, and all those other kind of things. But normally this aircraft, 330 knots, I'm not sure where you're getting that value from. Maybe in a dive? I'm not sure. I can go look it up real quick, too. Steph points out the fact that they're learning to fly a Tecnam 2002. That's interesting. I actually saw one of those over an X-plane. They definitely look like a unique kind of an aeroplane, but it's not necessarily something I go jumping into directly. What we really should have done is flown the Embraer today, like an EMB 110 or something like that. It would be literally the perfect plane for a flight like this. Yep, notice the field sizes are starting to get a little smaller. It happens all... Oh, man, I feel sorry for this guy's field. Imagine trying to mow this lawn here. Going up, down. And again, it should kind of get these massive foothills, and we're going to slowly make our way. That's excellent, Bruce. You literally just proved my point perfectly. Of course, you sit there going, why don't you just do a 15-minute flight? That way you don't have to worry about using the autopilot. It's no fun. All right, one thing I will do real quickly there. I'll go back to PFD. PFD, SVT. I'm going to flip that on for a second because I just want to study where this mountain is. You can see it's actually fairly tall from where we're coming in. So if we do start our aggressive descent right away, we're going to end up basically smacking into it. But that's okay. Like I said, I think we only have like 8 minutes or 12 minutes. And then we're going to be swinging down into Rio and putting this thing down on the ground. All right, I'm going to start getting my approach procedure ready. Again, we're going to be doing an ADF approach today. ADF approaches are stressful, to say the least. Our initial altitude is going to be 1,700 feet. We're basically going to use the ADF to line ourselves up at the bridge, and then theoretically, if we did everything perfectly, it should line us right up at the end of the runway as well. I'll kind of walk you through that when we get there, but I do want to go ahead and start getting some of my timers and stuff like that ready. So our timer is going to be 1 minute 20 seconds. Go get that all set up. Come on. 0120, enter. All right, we're going to be counting down. Obviously, my timer is going to be right here. We don't need this until we get a little bit closer to the ground. Like I said, once we cross the ADF station, that's going to be our we've missed the approach kind of thing. Keep in mind, of course, today we're flying an approach that's beautiful weather, so we shouldn't have any issues with a missed approach or anything like that. All right. Head back to the home page. That's preset. We've already dialed in our minimums. Again, we're using an MDA today because it's an actual altitude. So that's already preset. This is preset. All set. Good. Getting 288, so we're moving great today. Let's look out my window. I never get to appreciate outside. It looks like how the weather's a little bit more polite. Speaking of the weather, I'm kind of curious what happened to the real-world weather. Let's go take a peek. Oh, that's different. Man, I love the fact that you can just push a button and do that. Yep, no wind, nothing nasty, so I'm not gonna worry about it too much. But do we get a stronger tailwind though? 10 knots, ooh. Steph understands. Exactly. I mean, like, I always like to joke on why are we wasting electricity? Because we can. Because it's fun. We like to. And again, at the end of the day, it's all about the navigation. And when we really, really think about it, the actual flying is usually pretty straightforward. But the actual trying to safely get there, that's where things get a little bit more interesting for us. I love that button. Did everybody, yep, notice how everybody got slightly different altitude to me because all their barometric pressure would have been different. Yep, see how we're all on the same height now? Of course, what we could do is press the Y key and get there in 30 seconds. But it's, again, one of those things that we don't need to worry about too much. We'll be there pretty soon. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a step descent here, and I'll lose just a tiny bit of altitude, so we can basically skim the top of this as, you know, we're kind of ripping in there. Right now, as it sets, again, we're a pretty good distance away. I'm just checking my notes here to see what the critical altitude is. Critical altitude is going to be, let's see here, I believe that's going to be 7,000 feet. So we're going to go ahead and start descending. We go ahead and set this down to 11,000. Warning everybody behind me, I'm going to start descending at exactly 15:30. That way at least everybody has a warning. Of course, with a 45-second delay on YouTube, you're not going to get that notice until I've already started going down. 15 seconds. I played a lot of Tribes back when I was in middle and high school. Here we go. Perfect. Now, somebody was commenting a moment ago the fact that they can never seem to get this aircraft to go 330 knots. Well, if you don't touch your throttle on a descent, I guarantee you will probably get very, very close to that. Love that. Oh, what happened to Simon? He's probably out there somewhere. Well, probably, oh, there he is. He snuck up on my far right. Nice. He's like, why did you change the flight plan? Because you want to see this. This looks cool. It's right here, as you'll see in just a minute. And don't panic. We're not going to smack into the mountains. We'll level off before we get there. Ooh, PAI. Not too bad. Not too bad. All right. I can't wait to see how much traffic is going to be in Rio today. I have a feeling it's going to be a little on the busy side. Actually, wait a minute. Can we see what I think we can see? Hang on. Let me look. This is the most amazing set of binoculars I've ever owned. Not only do they have amazing zoom, but they don't vibrate when you hold them. Yep, we're coming in right here. This is gorgeous, gorgeous bridge, and a lot of frame rate loss right here. You know, when you see, when you're flying in the real world, you always tend to lose frames around major cities, and it makes it really difficult to control the real airplane. But, you know, it's something that will affect us as well. Okay, check this out. This is so cool. There's a basic, like I said, they call this the finger of the gods. We had to see at least one thing. Like I said, originally we had gone up to Amazon River, and we are going to go take a look over the ocean and the Amazon River, bump into each other, but they refused to chat. But I chose to do something a little bit further south here. All right, are we getting 330? Yeah, we're getting 304, so we're doing pretty well now. Pretty well. And then we're basically going to swing, do our little approach. Again, this is the ADF approach for those of you who are setting up your autopilots for the approach as well. I'll go bring that up for you real fast. There we go. Oh, it changed my approach on me. Jerk. Oh, look at that. So I set up this flight plan originally inside a little nav map, and we had access to the NDB approach. They, unfortunately, refused to give us the NDB approach, which is, oh, that's sad. That means we have to actually do it by hand, which, you know, it's probably safer anyway. Yep, because the NDB approach will take us right through this point right here, which unfortunately, like I said. By the way, if you're curious how I have a custom waypoint like this, basically what I did is I saved the waypoint as its name inside of a little nav map and exported the flight plan to Flight Simulator. You'll actually remember the name of the item that you go ahead and save like this. I imagine you could probably get a true airspeed. If you're at 21 or 22,000 feet, I would expect you to get probably a 330 knot true airspeed with this aircraft. I mean, I'm doing 300 now, but I'm also diving. I love this. You just set the throttle once, don't ever have to touch the darn thing. One of the weird things with my new throttle, by the way, is it has detents on it, so I can actually lock things into certain positions. It's kind of fun if you have an afterburner. It doesn't work so well with an aircraft like this. I get about 250. I'm not complaining, not complaining. Now, the incredible thing is I'm 32 nautical miles away from this, and they're still that large. Now, in case you, by the way, you're ever curious if we're going to crash into something, just take a look at your horizon line. If this line is below what you're flying into, that means you're going to crash into it. Again, Raphael, literally perfect formation flying. You must have very, 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 very sensitive controls. And the interesting thing is the folks flying our old flight plan are all the way over here. Again, of course, we'll meet them when we get up into Rio. All right, looks good. One thing I was going to ask the audience is there any desire for me to do the videos using track IR as opposed to my conventional method of kind of zooming in and out? I'm just sort of asking this as a general audience question because I'm not sure that people feel strongly one way or the other. I mean, I'm really used to using just the mouse to kind of look around when I need to, but some people like track IR because you can kind of like focus a little bit easier and it's more natural. I don't know. Does anybody have a feeling about this? There's the major highway. Look at this. Look at this. It's like desert dunes. It's so cool. All right, we're getting the warning red altitude. I did not need to touch my throttle the whole time. Love it. This is just amazing, though. Notice nobody's going to build a farm here. But as soon as we cross over this, like I said, just like in the real plane, you're going to be experiencing significant frame rate loss. All right, we're still at 100%. Everything's good. Everything's good. Everything's good. Looks good. And we should be popping right over the top of this. And as soon as we cross this, we need to go down to about 1,700 feet. So I'm actually going to start pre-selecting my next altitude once this aircraft settles. This is cool. And look at Rio. It's just, oh my gosh. It's like, this is just it's like Los Angeles, but in South America. Look at how dense it is. It's crazy. There's also a really neat landmark right here, which we'll take a look at as we're coming in for a landing. Oh, good morning, good afternoon, Julian. Fellas. This is great. Yeah, it's such a relaxed flight. Like, you gotta like these. I think our next flight for sure is gonna have to be some hands-on mountain sketchy flying, because we haven't done anything like that in a little while, I feel. All right, let's zoom in a little tiny bit here. Looks pretty good. There's our NDB, by the way. Our ADF. Yep. See how the needle's straightened? So now we're actually picking up. I swear to God, the NDB is on the bridge, and we'll cross over it as well. We do our approach here. I think you guys will get a kick out of it. All right, let's go ahead and pre-select our altitude we're going to need for approach. Our initial altitude, as insane as this is going to be 1,700 feet. A Virpil BDR. What's the BDR? I'm not familiar with that particular Virpil. Gotcha. Rafael is answering my question from before. See, I have a VKB gunfighter, and that's why it's precise. But like I said, I just got the new Mongoose throttle from a Virpil because I could not find the new VKB throttle at all, which was, it's kind of a bummer. But it was expensive, but it's my graduation gift. I have 2 master's degrees, in case anybody's curious. Now, I have to spoil yourself from time to time, and I do enjoy this stuff. All right, so we're going to go take a look at the Fingers of the Gods right over here, and then we're going to swing down into this valley, and like I said, it's going to go crazy. Like I said, you're definitely going to have some frame rate issues. At least I know I am, despite what I have as a computer here. Okay. Nope, careful. Watch my tail, I feel like this is like almost like a Focke-Wulf 190 sneaking up on me here. Just got that like nice little anhedral in the wings, or dihedral in the wings and everything. Very nerve-wracking. Now check this out. Nobody lives on this mountain, and I mean nobody. I mean, you get this nice little kind of like Spring Valley down here, nice little resort. And then we cross into this really, really tight valley, and then we go, whoop, right off the side of the mountain here. Like I said, right by the Fingers of the Gods, which are these little guys right here. Kind of neat. When you do have a second on Google Images, go take a picture of this. It reminds you of something that you would have seen like in Indiana Jones, like in an opening sequence or something. It's absolutely wild. I mean, they're a lot steeper than that than they are in the real world. So my first master's was in technology and engineering education. My second one is in school administration, in case you're curious. Go figure, right? Man, was that a project. I'm not going to get into that, though. Oh, yeah. Here we go. So where we're going to be flying in just a second is we're basically going to have a bridge, and our NDB station is going to be in the middle of the bridge. We're going to fly down, cross it at 1,700 feet, and then perfectly over here on our right is going to be our destination. We're not going to be flying into the major airport, which is going to be right here on this gigantic island, or right in the middle of the bay here. Instead, we're going to come around and kind of land on the tiny one, because we want to take a look at Sugarloaf Mountain over there on the far right side. Yep, these are the Fingers of the Gods, and when we get on the other side, you'll see the other one that you always see a picture of. Thanks, Steph. I really appreciate that. I've got by the way, in case anybody's curious, my videos next week are all updated videos on the G1000, 3000, and 3X, because so many new things have come out for it that I felt like I had to redo those videos. All right, let's go ahead and take a look real quickly. Yep, that's the Fingers of the Gods. It's so cool. Imagine standing right here and just looking over this valley, like where you can see like the smog of the city. Oh my God, that's so amazing. All right, so let's get ready for landing. Go ahead and put my head out here and make sure everything's all set up here. I'm going to start actually my descent a little bit earlier here. I'm going to go ahead and do my vertical speed. Down, 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 down. CWS, by the way, is your best friend in the universe for when you're doing a descent where you're not sure which you're descending. "14-hour flight time? Hopefully you paused every once in a while. That is a tremendously long flight. I remember in FSX, I did the 747 across the ocean. And oh my God, even with 16x time acceleration, that was a fabulously long flight. Now right here is, like I said, our handy dandy little Finger of the Gods. You got these little pieces here. There it is, right there. These little pieces. I'm sorry, it doesn't look nearly as exciting in Flight Simulator. In the real world, like I said, it looks like something right out of an Indiana Jones movie cover kind of a thing like that. And it's all in this region. Now imagine hiking this. Oh, somebody's got their house there. All right, here we go. Time to bring in our approach. Coming into Rio. All right, first things first, I'm going to go ahead and pull my throttle back here into my first little detent. You can see just snap there. Again, that's a new thing. And we're going to increase our descent rate substantially. We're going to have to get this thing going down like crazy if we're going to get into the city at a reasonable amount of time. Remember, our goal is going to be about 1,700 feet. All right, Rio. You know, when I usually think of, South America, or Brazil, I should say, I always think of the Amazon up north. Like I said earlier, I played with it. I just couldn't make it work. Maybe it's something worth coming back to with some amphibious aircraft, but like for now, I can't. All right. Nobody touch the time acceleration button or your frame rate will be 11. Now, I love this. It's green, 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 green city. It's like Los Angeles. Check that out. It's amazing how many people live here. All right, our destination this is Sugarloaf Mountain, by the way. It looks much cooler when we get close to it. It's actually this little teeny tiny little smidge, which you're going to see it. And obviously, you're going to see the bridge that crosses it. The international airport, by the way, is right here in case you were curious about that. Now, the other fun one, if you want to talk about extremely patient flying, is what folks are not flying, I should say, driving. It's people who play the Euro Truck Simulator. Again, those are interesting games. You know, you always put your book on tape on, and you just do a 1,600 kilometer flight or something like that. And yeah, I don't know, the miles just kind of go by, as people say. All right, you know what I forgot to do? Shut this off. Just kidding. Ah, Mobius, welcome back. Dun, 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 dun. Oop, oop, oop. I guess it's not really a copyright violation because Wagner is, he's been around for a while, so. All right, so to do this as a proper ADF approach, what we're supposed to do is we're supposed to line up at this one right here, and then as soon as we cross it, we're supposed to be doing a constant descent of, let's see here, 500 feet per minute for minute 20, and if we miss the runway, we miss the runway, and we have to come back down. I'm noticing here, taking a look at my little synthetic vision, that I'm more than perfectly lined up. I actually probably have more descent rate in than I actually need here, but that's perfectly fine. It's been a pretty long flight today. Now, all I have to say is, I love airplanes, but man, would I kill to have a sailboat in this region. Because, just taking a look around, like everywhere, you can go up one of these little rivers here. You can come down and visit one of these little islands in the middle. You've got good protection from the ocean here with this very, very large bay here. It would be absolutely, absolutely, absolutely awesome. Thank you, Pie in the Sky. I really appreciate that. Things have gotten very quiet with Flight Sim, at least my channel in the last, I want to say, 3.5 months or so compared to what it was. All right. Good morning, Simo. All right, we're going to come swing down here. These folks are, remember, if you're not first, you're last. So we have a couple folks, again, they're not with us, but they're having a probably good old flight in and out of there. This mountain, by the way, when we get a little closer to it, it's so iconic, you're going to be like, oh, it looks a lot better than those stupid fingers of the gods you gave us a minute ago. Sorry. Another neat thing is when we're approaching down to our landing here is there's a really, really neat little tropical island here that basically is like a really, really large resort. And it's one of those that's like, so what if you have to go to the hospital kind of a thing? You have to fly a helicopter in and out of the city. Oh, message retracted. I've never actually seen that. All right, so this is going to be our little landing spot. Like I said, we're going to get a little bit closer. It'll be a little bit easier to see here. And you might recognize this right here as we get a little bit closer. But again, I'm using my high-power binoculars, which I've never actually owned before. I'm going to do something very scandalous. Ha-ha! I love that button. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what those emojis are going for, but that's perfectly fine. All right. So unfortunately, I can't see the bridge yet, which is a scare. Oh, there it is. So the NDB station we're interested in is actually in the middle of the bridge. So I'm actually going to get ready for my approach now. Switch on to heading hold mode. I'm going to take a nice gentle turn. Again, we're trying to line up at the middle of the bridge here. As soon as you cross the NDB, you're going to want to make your heading 201 degrees, and that's going to be magnetic. And that should bring us right down onto the ground. Again, like I said, the ADF approach is not in a simulator. It is an actual approach that we can use here. One thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to pull my throttle back a lot. I feel like my engine is, like, hot. Of course, it's a turboprop. You don't have to worry about these things. At 10% torque so that the thing doesn't start honking at us. All right, stand by for the, very, very bumpy bumps. Interesting. So originally when I had planned... Oh, everybody's passing me. So originally when I had planned this, you can see Flight Simulator does not agree, but that's all right. Go ahead and flip on my anti-automatic pilot here. Take a nice gentle turn to the right. We're going to take a good little look at the city real fast before we put this thing down. Everybody's going to all separate as I started slowing down there. Because like I said, they get a slightly different time delay than I do. Reset my view to make it a little bit simpler here. Give myself a little bit of trim. Generally, when you're approaching with this plane, you don't really want to be doing $1.90 when you're only 2,000 feet off the ground. But again, that's all right. Of course, international audience is like, what does he mean by $1.90? And it's an American expression. I'm sorry. See, one of the fun things is, I work around with secondary students all the time, and, they give me things like the word diesel or sus, which you get the idea. All right, I'm going to zoom in my little display here. We're starting to get nice and close. I love how fast turboprops slow down. MFD. Go ahead and zoom in a lot. And there is our handy-dandy little ADF. Like I said, the ADF station, I should say, the NDB is literally in the middle of that bridge that connects one side of Rio to the other side there. All right, 1,700 feet. We're already way too low, but again, we're going to turn this one into a visual approach because we don't need to do a fancy one. There's our runway right there. Take a nice gentle left turn there. And there's Sugarloaf Mountain, one of the most iconic things when everybody thinks about this part of the world, kind of a thing like that. Straight ahead, that's that little kind of thing just sticking out. Honestly, it looks like it's a graphical glitch. It doesn't actually look like it's supposed to be there. But if you get a little closer to it, you realize it matches pretty well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and back the throttle out. The engine's going to start slowing down. They've made such great improvements to the propeller systems on this particular aircraft, or in all the aircraft here. I can actually feel safe. Landing gear are going to come down first. Now, if you notice, my ADF needle is perfectly centered. Lights are green. And the needle's going to flip. Start timer. All right, we got 1:20 to find our way down to the ground. All right, we should be doing 500 feet per minute downwards. All right, go ahead and do your pre-flight landing checks. Your Giphy, gear, inertial separator, yaw damper should be off. And let's see, flaps. Flaps are set. Airspeed should be right around 85 knots. I'm getting a little slow here. Watching my timer, 52 seconds to get down to the ground before we missed approach. This is the nice thing about a brand new throttle is it actually stays where you push it. Of course, this is a turboprop, and it takes forever to actually respond to you. All right, the NDB is slipping slightly to my right, but that's all right. Will it be butter? Oh, don't you dare. I'm going way too slow. Actually, they've made changes to the flight model in the update that came out on Wednesday, and there's a couple things I'm not good at anymore, and I'm actually having to relearn, but that's all right. I'm also getting a little bit of crosswind. I've just got a warning saying my inertial separator's on. We're concentrating on landing there, so we shouldn't be doing something like this. Don't do that. Push the button later. All right, 83, 84. We have 8 seconds before we have to do a missed approach. So, see the runway. Oh, look at that. Man, that was tight. Not going missed. Landing. Nose down. Decision altitude has been reached. Going ahead and pull the throttle back. I've overshot that pretty bad. Bring the nose a little to the right. Getting a little bit of crosswind. I don't know if everybody's getting the same crosswind. And we are down. Whoa! Whoa! Beep, 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 beep. Bonk, bonk. Beep, 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 beep. Anyway, that was completely unnecessary, but hilarious. All right, we're down. That was a little dangerous, but I don't know. Maybe this is just a different traffic system or something in this part of the world. Of course, most people point out the fact that it landed into the wrong wind. But look over there. All right, let's go ahead and take our favorite picture that everybody likes to take. I'm going to kind of head over to the terminal. And you can all come join me behind if you'd like to come get our little, I guess, what do you want to call it, the thumbnail picture. Oh, man, what a flight. Whew. My legs are a little, worn out from playing some of those right there. There's always somebody. Whoop, somebody's coming in. I feel sorry for this guy. He's just enjoying his day, and we're like, how y'all doing? All right. I'm going to come up here, and we'll go ahead and take a little handy-dandy picture here. We are currently in Santos Dumont. This is a Sierra Bravo Romeo Juliet. We've just arrived. It was a pretty long flight, but nothing terrible. One thing I did not do is put off my landing lights. I know I always complain that people shouldn't be doing that, but oh well. All right, I'm going to come right up here. I just want to get out of the way because there's actually normal people landing and taking off, and I always feel really, really bad. All right, this circle looks like a good spot to go ahead and park. I'm going to get a little bit of the city in the background if I can. And full stop. There we go. All right, let's make... This is great. We just backed up half of Brazil. Nice job, everybody. Nice job. Port Arthur, of course, is a sneaking here in an Airbus, which is always neat. I think we've got just about everybody. I think Reaper MD is sneaking in here. I'm going to go take my quick picture. Man, you folks really made this one fun today. Yep, Sierra Bravo, Romeo, Juliet. I've got my first picture, but I'll wait until everybody else sneaks in. Moby Mobius is sneaking in. What a great... This is the most expensive TBM convention in history. And again, you get a nice picture of Sugarloaf Mountain over there in the background. I think we have one more coming in. He'll be here in just a second, and I'll go ahead and take this one. I went AFK, I think, is a little bit lost, and I was really kind of hoping... Yep, I have a feeling they're not with us, but again, we'll be okay. So as always, when I get to the end of one of these, I always like to ask, does anybody have any questions or videos you'd like to see? Like I said, coming up this week, you're going to see a couple videos, classic remakes of the G1000, G3000, G3X videos. I felt it was time to do another one of those. One of these days, I'll get the working title one and have a good time. This chap right there is like, what just happened? But again, that can happen. All right, Reaper MD, come and get in our picture here. Zoom out just a little bit. Yeah, that's about as far back as I can go. Man, that's a lot of TBMs in one place. There he is. And picture taken. All right. Does the TBS cost anything? Yeah, I keep saying that. No, the TBM's part of the game. All right, as always, I like to cause a little bit of a wanton destruction of my poor aircraft here because I can. And like I said, does anybody have any special requests or any questions on anything? Again, I'll do the best I can to answer. I don't consider myself, that much of an expert. I know some things, but it's only because, like I said, I've been flying flight sims for a little while. Our Reaper just said he got that. It's all right, I got the picture. You're good. You're good. All right, let's go sneaking over to this runway. I'm going to take a better look at Sugarloaf Mountain, and I'm going to go swimming, because, the water looks amazing. Of course, keep in mind, this time of year, it's summer here. It will be winter there, so unfortunately, it's going to be a little cold, Everybody's following me for a little kind of plunge here. You're welcome, Klaus. I'm glad you guys liked it. Like I said, I'm a little more relaxed than usual. This was just looking for a nice little neat flight somewhere else in the world. I got some ideas for next time, but if you folks have any other ideas, just kind of give me a heads up what those ideas are. And it could be something we consider. At some point, I'd love to make it to the 50th live stream, because that would just be amazing. Because then it's like, oh man, do you have any idea how many miles we've traveled in that amount of time? You're welcome, Raphael. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Like I said, I didn't have a lot of trivia or crazy challenging stuff to this flight today, but I thought it was going to be fun anyway. Yes. So, John Ayo, if you're interested, I have a whole video dedicated to how to get this thing started, should you be interested in that. You can find that one on my channel. And again, like I always say at the end too, is all my channel news goes on my little channels thing that kind of has your community page. And on the community page, I always list all the different things that I'm up to. Generally, I post once a week, unless there's something kind of special coming. Interestingly enough, we're getting towards the summertime, which is, you could probably guess what I do for a living. That probably makes it a little bit easier for us as far as scheduling things like this. Brazil. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, geez. I'll have to look up what I said there. Muito bom. Yes, Brazil versus Brazil. Yeah, that was kind of interesting when I went to create the title of this. And I'm sitting there going, well, I have to get it both ways. If you look in the description, I spelled it differently than I spelled it in the title, because I wasn't 100% sure which is going to be the safest choice there. So I just picked both. All right, let's come swinging around. As always, like I said, if you have any suggestions for future videos, if you have suggestions for future places you'd like us to fly to, this is a great time to do so before, like I said, I go swimming over here by Sugarloaf Mountain. Oh yeah, this is an incredibly reckless and dangerous use of this aircraft, but you're all going to have to deal with it. All right. Absolutely, Steph. I'm glad. Like I said, I love doing these. This is super relaxing. I just had to do some quick... I was right. I got the right Brazil. Keep in mind, my Portuguese is absolutely doo-doo. I'm not sure what the Portuguese term for that is. My Spanish, like I said, it's all right, but I'm not even going to try. Near is Sugarloaf Mountain. Very, very famous. I'm going to go rip around this at high speed, and we're going to go swimming. Let's go swimming. Oh, that's a nice little place there. Sorry, Mr. Airplane. You're very expensive. You're very reliable. Love you to death. Oh, we're going for a swim, John Aho. Anybody who's seen one of my streams before is we can't have a good flight, especially if I land well. I have to go and do something terrible to my airplane afterwards, just because, Microsoft Flight Simulator only counts a flight if you don't die. So I like to just, spike the logbook, so to speak. All right, let's see how close to the water I can get before I go swimming here. Yeah, I really like the Amazon as well. It's another absolutely gorgeous place. But I just want to see all the sailboats and little power boats and little paragliders and like, hear like the music, coming from the cities and everything like that. It's just like those little tiny details you just don't pick up from an airplane. Fun fact though is if you have your windows cracked in a real plane, you can actually smell things. So, if you travel over near the ocean, you can actually smell the salt water and everything along those lines. This video game, this particular game this is Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Or I should say, it's just Microsoft Flight Simulator, but it came out in 2020. I have my throttle pulled back all the way, and I am not slowing down. All right, let's see how close to the water I can get. So for those of you who are experts at formation flying, this is the best way to learn to formation fly. Don't hit the water and stay exactly 1 foot off the water. All right, starting to get a little slow. Here we go. As soon as we hit the water, we'll go ahead and call it. I should probably look behind me and see who else is about to go swimming with me here. No. Oh, yeah. All right, folks, have an absolutely wonderful afternoon or wonderful day. Thank you as well for joining us. We'll be doing this again in 2 weeks. It's going to be a little later in the afternoon. Keep an eye out for those videos we're going to be having with the G3. As always, if you have any ideas, comments, suggestions, feel free to throw them up on the community page. Other than that, enjoy, and I'll see you all soon.